This TFMR podcast is brought to you by your friends at JM Bullion. Visit jmbullion.com for all your gold and silver bullion needs. Hello again from TF Metals Report, and welcome back to your podcast highlights program, a free service we offer to let you know a little bit of what we do at TF Metals Report on a daily basis. These are all little podcast snippets from our daily shows the week August 21st through the 25th. Back on Monday the 21st, there are a lot of things to discuss, even though we're still in kind of the dog days and summer doldrums where algo trading dominates. We watched silver and gold get driven backward over the last 3 or 4 weeks. However, silver looks to be turning the corner on Monday the 21st, starting to turn back higher. The last few times the prices have either gone up or down for the precious metal, silver has led the way. So is there some positive signals coming out of silver? Well, that was just one of the things we discussed on Monday the 21st. Look at silver on the 1-month chart. Remember we've been tracking this? Look at that. Breaking out back on the 17th late last week, going sideways, finally getting through 23. These are 2-hour candlesticks. Big red candle right next to it that came this morning, and then a green candle right after that. Looks like it wants to go up to that 2370, 2380, which is that area it was between about the 3rd and the 7th of this month. Again, that's where those two moving averages are. I think that's your next target. And then we're going to have to kind of sit and see what happens as we go through the remainder of the week. So with silver looking good, silver having clearly bottomed in my mind, then gold's got to be getting close too. We continued with that idea on Tuesday the 22nd. Again, silver has led gold both up and down quite a few times over the last 3 years. Maybe it's going to do so again. And in comparing the short-term charts, those similarities are right there. Silver looked to bottom and find support, and now here about 3 days later, gold looks to be doing the same. Really very interesting topic that we explored on Tuesday the 22nd. Just gold and silver, and we're looking at a different time frame so you can see what I'm talking about. Because again, you recall, silver has led gold many occasions in the last 3 years. Either on the upside or silver rolls over first and goes the downside. Either way, silver tends to lead. This is the last 10 days, 30-minute candles. Notice how silver was sideways, and every time it would puke down here below 2250, it would bounce for about 3 or 4 days in a row. And it'd go up and roll back down below 23. But then after it based and showed it wasn't going down any further, now it's moving higher and it's a full $1 off the lows. Okay? Compare that to that same chart of gold, which is only now putting in these same lows. Okay, it's 3-4 days behind if you look at it. Okay, gold came down. Every time it went below 1920, dip. 1920 on the 17th, on the 20th, yesterday, again today. So it's got to move up. Got to get above 1930 and 35 to kind of start catching up to where silver is now. Silver leading the way. Silver having found a bottom first. So if you listen to last week's podcast summary, or if you follow me on Twitter at TF Metals, then you know I've been writing and talking a lot about the current commitment of trader structure, particularly in silver. 4 times in late 2022, the banks got net long while the speculators got net short, and what followed was a pretty dynamic short squeeze. Well, over the last couple of weeks, the same setup has presented itself. The banks getting net long and the funds getting net short. We're waiting for that squeeze, and it looks like it was starting to happen. That was all part of the discussion on Wednesday, the 23rd. Silver, on the other hand, like I said, has just been kicking ass. This is now 5 days. It's gone from below 2250 to damn near 2450. So that's at least a $2 rally in 5 days. Now, that's not the same percentage that we saw last year, but that's a start. And man, did it ever blast through its own 50 and 200 day today. So silver looks like it wants to extend again. Its downtrend line from those highs in May is actually only about 50 cents away. So we will watch that very closely. But I will remind you, this is a short squeeze. Yeah, definitely a squeeze today. And it may extend. But I want to make sure you saw this again. This is a chart from last week. Those 4 squeezes last year, 12%, 15%, 19%, and 18%. Okay? So this squeeze looks a little bit like the first one. Okay? Well, 5 days, the first 5 or 6 days, 12%. What are we now? 5 or 6 days, about 8%. Okay, it kind of looks like the first one. Now, what we hope is that you don't get this long slog like we got in August of last year, and I don't expect that that's what's coming. But this is clearly a short squeeze. We've documented, we set it all up. We're now coming toward the end of the month. Spec any hedge fund that is short September, silver has to cover it and get out. And that's a lot of what you got today. I don't have any doubts about that. Yes, TF Metals Report is a subscription website. I mean, it costs you a whole $15 a month to be a part of it. Better value than Netflix, I can tell you that. But anyway, we always try to put out some free content during the week. I write free articles for Sprott Money. And also, our Thursday conversation on the weeks that we have them is always a free public podcast. The Thursday conversation this week was with my friend Steph Pomboy. Steph has been an economist really her whole career, and few people are as insightful and experienced and wise as Steph. So it's a pleasure to call her a friend, and it was great to have her join me for this week's Thursday conversation. You can go to the tfmetalsreport.com site and find the link right on the homepage. You can listen to the whole thing yourself, and I would advise you to do it. But here's just one brief little snippet of some of what Steph had to share with us on Thursday the 24th.
Well, if they did that, I mean, the dollar would absolutely crash, wouldn't it? I mean, that would be my intuitive guess. I'd be very surprised if they raised the inflation target, because it's just the final destruction of what little credibility they have left as an institution, I would think. I would guess that rather than adjusting the inflation target upward, they might come up with, they came with all these nonsense components of the inflation numbers they were looking at, like the super core, they'll come out with something like that essentially gives them more wiggle room, but doesn't involve, directly changing the target. They'll come up with some fancy footwork that is a euphemism for that, but isn't exactly that.
And on Friday, August the 25th, we wrap up the week with Fed Chairman Jerry Powell giving his speech at Jackson Hole for the annual Kansas City Fed Jackson Hole Symposium. Every year, the Fed head gives a speech out there, and this year was really kind of a disappointment, nothing burger. Powell just basically regurgitated the FOMC press conference from July. So nothing much happened. However, we did finish up a very good week. COMEX Gold, last Friday's COMEX close to this Friday's COMEX close, up $23. Silver doing much better, up $1.51. And as you can see on this chart, has put in a solid little double bottom in June and August at $22.50. And now is moving up above its two key moving averages, the 50-day and the 200-day. And moving now toward that trend line that connects the peak back in early May with the peak back in the middle of July. Something's going to happen here. It's either going to break through and break out, which is what I think is going to happen, or it'll pull back, try to test those moving averages of support, and if that fails, maybe head back down to 23. Going to be a big week next week. There's a lot going on. Options expiration on the COMEX is Monday. The September silver contract goes off the board on Wednesday. In between, economic data like the JOLTS job survey data. The latest PCE will be on Thursday. And of course, the next BLS jobs report will be on Friday. Going to be a very busy week, and we'll see how the metals handle it. Come back next Friday. We'll look at the charts and see how they handled it. Until then, thanks for listening to the TF Metals Report podcast highlights. Hope you enjoy this, and hopefully you'll join us at TF Metals Report. It's only $15 a month for a subscription. It's money well spent. Check us out, tfmetalsreport.com. Have a great weekend, everyone.